Thanks a lot, Charlie. I am here at the Renegade Analytics Desk, and we're going to bring you a little bit of a mid-season stats report. Now, I know that the captain has shared a few things with you and given you some numbers, which are all great stuff, but of course, you know my job here is to go beyond the numbers a little bit. And so let's check in on the Nashville Predators about halfway, a little over halfway through the season as we are here at All-Star break, and let's see exactly what's going on with this team and how they're performing lately. So first, let's look at 5-on-5. We know what the situation is with the power play and the penalty kill. It's not great. We'll get back to something about the penalty kill here in a little bit, but let's focus on 5-on-5 because that is, of course, where the majority of the game is played. So let's look at what Nashville is doing. So we'll start first with just shots per game on a per 60-minute basis. Nashville is 13th in the NHL in shots for per 60, so that puts them in the upper half. Not great, but not bad either. Shots against, they are 28th in the NHL in shots against per 60 at 32.8. So they are giving up a lot more shot volume, and as UZ Saros could tell you against Carolina, they're giving up a whole lot of shot volume. But let's take a look and see where exactly is Nashville at 5-on-5 when it comes to shot quality. So on offense, they're actually improving quite a bit. They're right now 8th in the NHL in expected goals for per 60. So they are creating a lot of high danger chances, and we've seen that in the last couple of weeks. Nashville has really focused on creating a ton of opportunities in the crease and in the slot. And we're seeing that, and the problem is it's just they've not been able to convert those into goals so often, but we're starting to see that luck start to turn. Now let's look at expected goals against. And for those of you unfamiliar, it's kind of hard to evaluate defense and defensemen sometimes because there's not really a stat you can point to. You don't want to look at, goals allowed because obviously a goalie could be bad in front of a very good defender, and that shouldn't count against a defender. But what defenders usually can control, or at least have some control over, is the quality of shot that's taken by the opponent. Now, Nashville right now, they are 27th in the league in expected goals against per 60. That means they are giving up the sixth most expected goals against. So they're the sixth worst defense basically at preventing shot quality. So not only are they allowing a ton of shots against to put them, solidly in the bottom quarter of the league, but they're near the very bottom of the NHL at all in shot quality as well. So you would think that, again, pretty good offense with shot quality, very bad defense on shot quality. So how does that turn out in goals? Well, it's pretty much spot on even. Both goals for per 60 for Nashville at 5-on-5 and goals allowed sit at 2.45. So an offense, that puts them at about 19th in the league, so a little bit below average. And for goals allowed, that's 12th. Now think about that. They are allowing 2.89 expected goals against at 5-on-5 every 60 minutes, but only allowing 2.4%, 2.45 goals against. That's a difference of almost half of a goal difference. And you can probably see where I'm going with this, but let's take one more look at a couple of numbers just to kind of drive the point home. Now, the Nashville shooting percentage at 5-on-5 is a 7.9%, which puts them at 21st in the league. However, their team save percentage at 5-on-5, third in the league at 93.2. So, of course, you know what that means. This is the team that is producing a lot of shot quality but can't finish their shots, so they're not scoring up to the potential. They're giving up a ton of shot quality and shot volume, which you usually don't want both of those at the same time, but are being saved pretty much single-handedly by the efforts of UC Saros. UC Saros, again, who is second in the NHL in both goals above replacement and goals saved above expected. That means he is facing higher quality shots against than any other goaltender, and he's saving more of them at a higher rate. UC Saros has been nothing short of incredible, and the fact that The Athletic didn't list him as one of the top 3 or 4 contenders for the Vezina at the midpoint of the season is absolutely crazy. Mark my words right now, UC Saros will be a Vezina Trophy finalist. If the Nashville Predators don't make the playoffs, he may not be able to win the award just because of how the NHL works, but count on it. UC Saros will be a Vezina finalist this season. So now that we've looked at it and you want to look maybe overall, we've talked about how special teams have been bad. They've just been pretty awful. In fact, The fact that UC Saros is the second best goaltender in the entire league on the penalty kill, yet the penalty kills defense has been so awful. Again, another testament to how great he's been. Overall, though, at all situations, shot quality, Nashville falls back all the way from 8th to 16%. So that's the average shot probability of, the average shot that they take. So they're just middle of the NHL, and that's about what you would expect. They're not too great, they're not too good, and that's basically where their record has hovered all season long. The shot quality they're giving up against, 27th, bottom 5 in the NHL, 29th in shooting, and 5th overall in saves. So again, there's a lot to be concerned about with Nashville, but there are some things that are a lot of things that there is to look forward to going forward, coming out of All-Star break. Now, there's been a lot to be said about John Hines and him switching line combinations around, but the line combinations that they found here in the last 2 weeks have been extremely effective. And when I talk about being just extremely effective, they're incredibly effective. So if you look at forward lines at 5-on-5, who've had at least 60 minutes on ice together at 5-on-5, the Ryan Johansson line with Nino Niederreiter and Mikael Granlund is second in the NHL among all forward lines in shot quality per 60. Jeannot, Novak, and Trennan are 7th, and Forsberg, Glass, and Duchesne are 10th. So that's 3 of the 4 lines that we've seen roll out heading into All-Star break that are in the top 10 in shot quality. However, only the Forsberg line is in the top 50 for the actual goals scored. They are at 13th. So they are creating, Cody Glass has really provided a spark for Matt Duchesne and Philip Forsberg, and they are producing tons of quality shots. And unlike the other 2 lines, they're actually able to convert that. Now, we've talked a lot about how bad the defense has been just on paper. And anybody who's watching, I think, would agree that the eye test and the analytics pretty much match up. But Fabro and Ekholm have been, in some of their limited time, they've been a pretty effective pair as far as shot quality allowed, just 15th in the NHL, allowing the least amount of shot quality. But if we want to look at something that's been a huge spark, I think, for the Nashville Predators is the combination of Roman Josi and Ryan McDonagh. They have a 0.2 or a 2.6 positive goal differential per 60. So when they are on the ice, the Nashville Predators are outscoring their opponents by almost 2.5 goals, per 60 minutes. That's really incredible. So yes, while the defense may be giving up a lot, when Roman Josi is on the ice, he is being allowed to be a much more creative, more offensive player, with Ryan McDonagh kind of sitting back, playing excellent even strength defense, which he's done pretty much all season. And so there are some bright spots. And of course, UC Saros has been fantastic. Although one stat that I think shouldn't be overlooked, and I know there's been some talk about it, is you look at how good Kevin Lankinen has been. Kevin Lankinen has been beyond all of our expectations. And one thing you could say is that maybe he got some of that experience playing in front of a bad team that doesn't play defense in Chicago, and so that's why he was able to step into Nashville and do the same thing. But he's been pretty fantastic. In fact, I believe last time I looked, his save percentage was, I believe, top 5 in the NHL. Just for save percentages in 11 games played. So Kevin Lankinen, they've been splitting the games about 65-45 or so, or 65-35, pardon me, which is a little concerning. You'd like to see Lankinen, especially with his performance so far, get a little bit more time. But I think winning games right now is the most important thing for the Predators, and so they're going to ride UC Saros. Let's just hope that it doesn't happen like it did last year. A couple of players that I do want to spotlight before we finish this up here. One of the team players that has been a very pleasant surprise, and obviously you look at the top of a lot of the metrics and you see Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg leading the team in metrics like goals above replacement, which is, again, puts them in the top 10% of the NHL. So these guys are having a good season. Niederreiter, Matt Duchesne, again, not having the type of seasons they were having last year, but still performing pretty highly. But Cody Glass, of course, we're going to talk about Cody Glass. He has been pretty much sensational since him coming back after his little layoff in the middle of this season so far. Cody Glass currently sits at 5th in goals above replacement, just above 5, about 5.5, 5.6, which is again fifth on the team, only behind Yossi, Forsberg, Niederreiter, and Duchesne. So he has stepped up into that top line center role and has done a fantastic job. And like we said just earlier, that line is not only producing shot quality, but they are converting and creating goals too. So Cody Glass, hats off to him. He has done a ton of improving just within this season. And a lot of people that were in Vegas that were ready to give up on him as a prospect might be having some second thoughts. Now, unfortunately, we need to look at a player that it's a little bit odd. I'm going to say honestly, from the eye test, this player has not been as bad as the analytics suggest. I think that there has been a role for him and that he has been helpful, especially in creating points and creating assists. But Mikael Granlund is by far, as far as goals above replacement, the worst player on the Nashville Predators, which is something that I would not have expected one bit before the season or afterwards. He's not producing. He doesn't have a positive impact at any part of his game so far this season, with the exception of he is slightly positive in takeaways. But it's unfortunate to see because again, he is in that bottom 25 alongside Jeremy Lauzon. So it's hard to see that with Mikael Granlund, especially when you see Kevin Fiala balling out both in Minnesota last year and then now in Los Angeles. But I still am not ready to give up on that because he still does, from the eye test, he is a playmaker. He is a guy who is a facilitator, and he has those points. He is generating points. He's just not, playing that 200-foot game. And honestly, he may be the one that's underperforming on that line with Niederreiter and Johansson. So summing up this season so far, obviously there are a lot of problems. Without UC Saros, this team would be in lottery contention, probably bottom 5, probably bottom 7 in this league. They have hovered around 500 because they're unable to maintain momentum. They can win 3 games in a row, then lose 2, then win 1, then lose 3 in a row. They've hovered around 500 pretty much all season long. We're starting to see some encouraging things. That top line, like I said, Josi and McDonough have been extremely effective. We're seeing a lot of Juuso Parssinen kind of starting to emerge. Yakov Trenin, that fourth line has been pretty effective as of late. And so there are some bright spots and reasons for hope. But the problem about that is there's never been about potential for the Nashville Predators, not this season and not in past years either. It's about actually performing to potential. And the question is, because at this point, I think we can all pretty much agree that John Hynes may be coaching for his job the rest of this season, and David Poile may be, vying to try to keep his job as well throughout this season. And so they better hope that the offense can catch up to what they're doing. They're starting to do some of the little things right, but let's see if they can keep up. And this year, just a playoff berth may not be enough. They may need to win the first round in order to maintain what they've got and continue building, because otherwise, I believe the clock is ticking and we're at the midway point in what could be the last season for Coach John Hynes and GM David Poile, but there's lots to be seen. Nashville has been in worse spots before, so let's hope that things turn around. Let's hope this season turns into something that is a magical run like we saw a few years back in the Cup run. And until then, until these games get started, I'm Bryan Bastin at the Renegades Analytics Desk, and back to you, Charlie.